They need to buy food for themselves and their husbands and wives and babies. So they start up a freelance voice marketplace that is non-unionized because they're desperate. And that pretty much brought down the union system for non-national commercials and even some of the national ones. And we saw that happen market by market from Washington, D.C., and then it hit us in about 2004, and a lot of the guys who have no other technical skills now make their living doing audiobooks. Mm-hmm. They have a simple setup at home, and they read the book, and then they have it proofed, and they do what they need to do, and they put the books out. They send the files to the publisher, and there you are. So that's how it's evolved, and unfortunately, it's all about the evolution of the computer. Mm-hmm. When computers first hit, what do they impact first? Well, first of all, the font and type houses, mm-hmm. because the computers had all these fonts and typefaces in them. Yeah. Okay, then what? Well, then spell check came along, so we didn't need proofreaders anymore, according to them. Mm-hmm. Then they got fast enough with enough storage so they could handle audio. Then they got faster and faster and more storage, and they could handle video. So that the evolution of the computer has everything to do with where we are today.
Yeah. Internet has changed. Technology has changed over the years.
Yes, sir. So, next question.
Let's talk about your music career. You're a musician, too. Is that right?
That's right. Let's see. I became enamored of the Beatles in 1962.
Okay.
And the Rolling Stones, and the Doors. And in Annapolis, Maryland, there was a very big folk scene. And on Saturday mornings, you could go to the local YWCA on State Circle, mm-hmm. and take guitar lessons, folk guitar lessons. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Neil Harp with an E, Harpe. Okay. Neil was about 2 years older, so he was still in high school, and he was enamored of the old Delta Black Blues players, and he could play their music.
Okay.
They can sing it, and their music was played with a finger-picked right hand and 3 fingers. Okay. And he taught us how to do that. I played in coffee houses in Annapolis and other places, primarily cover music, although I was very slow, but still writing some of my own stuff, but mostly covers, because that's what people wanted to hear. Put out time moves very quickly forward. I guess we're in the late 1990s or early 2000s. Put out a CD in about 2004, an EP of our original music. I looked around and saw that so many of my friends who were so much more talented than me were not able to make a living at it.
Yeah.
The market was just so cruel. And I just said, well, I think I can have this as a hobby. And because I understand music, this will help me work with musicians who want to record, and I have the ability to record. When I was working at 98 Rock, we used to have local music albums that we produced and would sell, most of the money going to charity, but they'd all be local original groups with original music. And so I took an engineering course for a recording studio in Baltimore, and that further advanced my technology so that I understood the signal flow of a recording chain, whether it be simple 2-track or a multi-track, and the ability to mix them, and so as to get a final mix and then master them. All that came along through that period. So it was kind of evolving on my music personal music was evolving on a parallel course and still evolves today. Because, for example, I just bought a hardware-software system that fits a pickup onto my electric guitar that has 6 different pickups, as many do for a 6-string guitar. But this particular system converts the guitar notes into MIDI data, which then is capable of playing sound libraries. So I can sit at the electric guitar, hit the strings, and make sounds of a violin section or a horn section.
Mm-hmm.
And that's remarkable and very fun. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And also, well, I haven't tried it on the drums yet, but I do have also drum software that's very lifelike. And I've a couple of the songs that I've created with drums from this software. I've even fooled drummers who have heard the song. And I said, "See, who is that?" I said, "It's the little guy in the box over there." "What box?" "That computer box." "No kidding." I said, "Yeah," and most of the giveaways on stuff like that, most of the telltales are you've created a drum pattern that cannot be played by a person with 2 arms and 2 legs. It's too intricate.
Yeah.
You got too much stuff going on. So you have to learn maybe to hold back a little bit. But anyway, so the music career evolves. I don't really want to push it because it's too hard.
Yeah.
It's really too hard to try to make it. As I said, I know guys who are wonderful and they're not able to make a living at it. So why should I try,
Yeah.
I'd love to keep it as a passion. That way, I can always jump into that and have fun with it. But if I had to wake up every day and, do 3 sets a night at a local club, I think I might get depressed.
Yeah, and I would imagine it would wear you out,
Yeah.
After so many days and months and years,
Yeah, I'd probably take to drinking and, worse things. And all of these are not unusual for musicians, unfortunately.
And we don't want that,
No, we don't. So that's there. I'm happy to have it. It is a force which allows me to communicate with other musicians, and it also helps me in putting together my pieces, whether they be commercials or corporate industrial things. And there is one other aspect that's a side note here that I think I should go down a little bit.
Okay.
That is in October of 2007.
Okay.
While on a job recording spoken word audio from a workshop. I went home that night, and it was a 2-day seminar in October, Saturday and Sunday. Did Saturday after setting up, went home, had dinner, got into bed, didn't feel good, felt worse, told my wife, I think you need to take me to the hospital. I think I've just had a stroke. What do you mean? Well, I can't see right. I don't feel good. And I'm minorly numb from the top of my head to my upper lip. So, I call, as we leave my house for the hospital, I call the production company and say, "Hi, it's midnight. I know it's going to voicemail. Look, I'm headed to the hospital. I think I've had a stroke. All the gear is set up, but I won't be there tomorrow. All you got to do, though, is turn it on and go for it." And off I went, and I got to the hospital, and they said, "Yeah, you've had a stroke. Get in here." So I'm in the hospital, and it's the next morning. And the workshop that I was recording was that of a woman from California who is an internationally known and respected healer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's I look up at the clock from my bed in intensive care, and it's 12 after 10. And I go, oh, well, Rosalind is in there doing her workshop. And then I stopped for a second and said, wait a minute, I feel something. She's doing something. And I looked back at the clock and said, okay, 10:12. And 5 minutes later at 10:17, I said, okay, I don't feel it anymore. Oh, so that was in October of 2007. Mm-hmm. And in February of 2008, she was coming back through. I was on the job. I was talking to people who I had met along the way who come to her workshops. And one of them said, hey, so how are you? And I said, I'm fine, but what happened here back in October? She said, well, Rosalind came in on Sunday, and she looked across the room, and there was some guy there that we didn't know, and she said, where's Ty? And the guy said, well, he's in the hospital. We think he's had a stroke. And with that, the woman said, Rosalind got us all up, and we did a distance healing for you. And I said, 10:12 to 10:17. She said, well, I don't know what time it was. I said, I do. I was watching the clock. And it really intrigued me. And I began to think about it more and more. And by August of 2008, I called the center where these workshops take place and talked to the administrative guy there. And I said, Mary Kay, I've been getting pinged all summer about something. I got to think that something's going to happen down at your place soon that I need to know about. Could you tell me what that might be? And she said, well, there's a woman who regularly comes to Rosalind's workshops. She was one of her first students, and she teaches a course in something called chakra balancing. Mm-hmm. And I said, chakra balancing? Yeah, all right, I know what that's about. I said, well, sign me up for that. And she did, and I took, this was an hour and a half long introductory class that explains what goes on and how it works and what her course will do. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, I said, Arlen, so what do you think? She said, well, gee, you've been listening to these workshops now for 3 years? I said, yeah, something like that. She said, you have more information about how this all works than many practitioners coming in off the street. But, I'll do it in a linear form, and half the class is a lecture, and the other half is students working on students. I said, sign me up. So 2 years later, I'd been through enough courses to get finished. And so now I became a lot more of people's energy and the energy in and around their bodies. And I've had some really interesting situations in unblocking blockages that have allowed people to get better from what they were suffering from. So that has nothing to do with radio, and it has nothing to do with music, but the point that brings it back to the music is that the teacher had a cassette, and she played the cassette one night, and she said, these are sounds of actual chakras, and she went on to describe them as we sat there and listened. And she's describing these sounds as individual frequencies. And this is 1,000 cycles, and this is the frequency of blah, 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 blah. And, okay, so I'm the musician and the engineer guy, and I'm listening to these sounds going to myself, I'm sorry, that's not that sound, that's not that frequency. And at the end of the night, I went to her and I said, Arlen, I have a crisis of confidence. And she said, what? And I said, either the sounds are wrong or the text is wrong, but what you're saying frequencies to be. Yikes, she says. Talk to Rosalind. So I email Rosalind. The email I get back is, Rosalind created that CD with Dr. Valerie Hunt many years ago. Dr. Hunt has taken that cassette off the market, and no one should be using it.